Welcome to Life Stuff, my friend.
Welcome to Life Stuff, everyone around the world.
I last couple of episodes, it's we talked about change.
Yep.
We talked about the unknown.
Hmm.
Basically, that was what our themes were the last couple of weeks. So, Justin, you sent me this or this message. I don't know what it was on, or were we talking about it? No, it was a message. Um, you've talked, in the last little while about the music that you've created, uh, and the album and the things you're doing with it. And then you had mentioned about going on tour and going in
Yes.
the park. So I found that very exciting, and I was going to say to you that when you do it, I want to come
Oh,
and I want to listen to you and watch you and help you if I can, if you need help.
yeah.
So I kind of thought it'd be cool if you about um, talked about that, talked about
Yeah.
where things are at with that, and it really, to me, it encompasses what we've been talking about. It's this in your life, like the change and the unknown of like a year ago, like who would have thought that you would have created this and take
Yeah.
it to the point where you are, and the perseverance and what you had to do to get to this point. It wasn't easy, but you just kept at it, and you've created this amazing album and music. So I thought we could talk about that. And
Okay.
we've been doing this for years, and Justin and I have been best friends for years. And this is definitely, um, I thought you were going on a different path a couple of
So
times,
did I.
and then this happened. So maybe
Yeah.
you know talk about that.
Well, thank you for asking. It is an interesting thing to have this shift because most people don't know me in that way. And so I find that even when people in my life are asking how are things going, like they're really asking like, have you booked anything? Like, can I watch you in anything? Because they know why I came to New York. And I still have an agent and I still submit for auditions here and there, but my heart's focus has like completely shifted. Like it's I was going this way and then now I'm going this way. And so I still see this in my peripheral, what I came here to do originally, but like it would just, it's just undeniable that like my heart and all my focus is now moving in this direction. So it's not like I've done a 180 or something because the music is still so creative. It's very creative. It's just like a different side of my creativity. And I'm sure you've noticed how it just like is coming straight from here because I'm like, it's like there's nothing I'm trying to get from it. I don't need someone's approval to book something, to be a good enough actor, to be a good enough performer, to have the skill of this or that to book the job. The music is a skill that I've been nurturing since I was like in my mother's womb. Like she sang Handel's Messiah with me in her belly. So like there it's always been there, but I didn't know that I had it in me to be a composer. It was not something that I ever like sought out to do. In my search for my own creativity though, it's what I landed in. And now that I'm doing it, it's just like exactly as you described. Like it's not, I don't know where this is heading. Different than when I always had like, oh, I'm heading towards that Oscar. I'm heading towards the photo shoot that I want, the company that I want to work with. Like there was always such an end. Now I have to like shift into different, what am I dreaming about in relation to the music? And I find that my dreams and what I'm looking for are much more like shorter term right now. Like to your point, like the park. This moment right now is because over the last year and a half, I recorded this music that I didn't know was going to be an album, realized it was an album. Then there was another album that came out of me, and I released them within the same year, but one last June and one this February. And I couldn't play that music because it all came out of me improvised. So it was very strange to have like given something of myself and then not even be able to experience it again. So then I notated the whole thing, handwritten. This entire book was empty, and now this entire book is full of my music, which I get chills thinking about that because like I used to play through an entire book of Mozart, of Beethoven, of all these great composers. And I don't think I would have ever believed that this is something I would do as well in my own way. So to have that now be complete, because I finished the last song this last week. So it's timely that you would that you would ask to talk about this because I finished the last one. And now I feel like the next step is practicing it in ways that I used to practice all of the music that I used to play. And so that's where the idea of this tour, this park summer tour came into mind. And that is just another example of like, I don't know why I want to do it, but I just keep pushing towards that. Like, you know, when you just want to do something and you make it happen, like I already bought the little table that I need. I already bought the case that I'm going to carry everything. I already asked my friends who's got a battery so I can have a battery pack with me because I'm going to need to power the whole setup. But I have little speakers. It's like shown me how when you really want something, do you just take the steps to do it? Do I know what it's going to become? Absolutely not. In fact, even since I've thought about the idea of doing a park moment, I've actually shifted to be a little more like, I want this to be like practicing in the park. Like if I had told little Justin at 37, you're going to live in New York City and you're going to have written your own music and you're not going to practice your music in your living room. You're going to practice your music in Central fucking Park. Like you, all of you out there, you have to imagine being a little farm kid in Saskatchewan, Canada. Like that's where this started. So to be here, it's a whole different type of dream. And so I'm because I'm framing it more as practicing, I'm taking the pressure off of this being a performance. I want you to come to the park. And that's what I'll probably do. I'll invite people to come join me and they can practice their art too, whatever that is, writing, drawing, painting, dancing. Like I'm just going to be vibing with my music, like under a tree in Central Park. And and you could come, like to have you there would be amazing. Maybe you could capture some of it with camera, like you know, something creative that you get to contribute to that experience, or maybe there's something else creative you want to do, or maybe you set up your chair and I'm just in the background and you're doing your sharing chair. Like I want it to be community. I want it to be like, and not about perfection, but about practicing our art, because that's one of the things I've noticed in this process is that the final thing is so like one moment. Most of the experience is the hours that you put into the practicing. And yeah, that's what I'm excited for this next phase um of the process, because that's what I feel like I'm figuring out my process.
I think what's important for people to see and to hear is that if you really want to do something and you really put your all into it, you can do anything. And
Hmm.
sometimes you don't know what that's going to be. Now you said something, it came from here. What did you mean here? Are you
My heart.
okay? Because I couldn't see that on
Oh,
the
sorry. Yeah, I couldn't.
right.
Yeah.
So when you have something, because it happens to me all the time. Something comes into my head and
Hmm.
it either stays in there or it goes away. And when it stays in there, it just is at me until I do something about it. The difference is, and this is what I love, and I'm so proud of you for this. And then, but the real test to me will be the park. Will be getting
Yeah.
out there and making yourself vulnerable and putting
Mm-hmm.
yourself in front of people because that's where I struggle. So
Mm-hmm.
we've talked many times about, and I've never really gone into detail about the 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 sharing chair idea that
Yeah.
I have.
Yeah.
And I did it a little bit in Puerto Vallarta, but it's kind of back to putting it on the side because I still have this fear of being vulnerable and putting myself out there and being, insecure about it. The
Mm-hmm.
amazing thing is to me is that once you do it, like you've actually um what am I trying to say here is that like when you were saying, you bought this and you bought that and you got this and you got that, I did all that for the sharing chair. I have t-shirts, I have
Mm-hmm.
the chair, I have all the equipment, I have everything ready to go out there and do it.
Yeah.
But I'm hesitant, and that's where fear comes in. And
Mm-hmm.
this is what I'm saying is that you have to push back that fear and you have to get out there and do it. And
And I
that's what
think,
you do.
yeah, I think part of what I push back against the fear of why I wouldn't do it is that I actually, and I will say this is kind of the first time in my life that I can feel how much I don't care what people think.
Mm,
Like, even when people like talk about my music, I'm always very curious how people receive it if they've listened to it. And it resonates with many, and others I can they don't have a comment, so it maybe wasn't their vibe. um but I've noticed that I it doesn't stop me from me loving it, and that is kind of always been the core of why I keep pouring myself into this, because like, and at first I thought it kind of sounds self-indulgent, like, my Mennonite, like, pacifist upbringing, Christian ideals are all intertwined with even my thought that I shouldn't love my stuff too much, because that would be narcissistic, that would be selfish, that would be like all the things we've been taught, like, no, 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 don't talk about yourself too much, don't be too proud. But I would be lying to myself if I didn't say the truth, which was that this music came out for me first. It was for me. I listened to it first for months before I even shared it with anyone. So it was a very precious thing to have this thing that I created that I wasn't even sharing with anybody, that was soothing to me. It put me to bed. It walked around the city with me. It took me on emotional journeys, like especially the second album in relation to a past partner. So much healing has come from me listening to my own music and now being able to play it. Like the other day, I was playing through Chocolate Chip Banana Bread, and literally I just started sobbing in one part that I had never even noticed before. It was a very simple part of the song that I was just like, oh, and then I was just like, oh my God, this is where that pain came from. Was a moment in that day that I was channeling when I was feeling this song. So there's something about not caring how anybody's going to receive it that gives me this. It doesn't mean I don't think about it. Oh, I
mm.
do think about it, but I don't think it's going to stop me from trying, because at the end of the day, I'm just going to go to the park and play my music for myself.
Well, this is my point. I think people have a lot of ideas and dreams and things they want to do, but the fear, or there's some reason that stops them from doing it. And
Yeah.
that's why I want to bring this up today, because this
Yeah.
is something that, you know, this is, first of all, it's such a change for you from where
Yeah.
the path you were going on, even though our paths can change many
Of
times.
course.
But also, again, what we've talked about before is the unknown. Like you
Yeah.
didn't know where this was going to lead you. And if
No
you,
idea we were going to go to the park. That was not when I initially wrote the music. But ironically, so much of what I channeled of the first album, wandering through this exploration, was moments and walking through Central Park. And the visuals of the first album are all in Central Park. So that it's funny how, like, I always say you don't get to know the future because you wouldn't believe it. I would never have like drawn the line between these two things, but now it just feels like it makes sense.
what would you say then to people? Like, what would you say to people who, um, I'm trying to make a point here. I'm trying to
Yeah.
make a point and tied into what we've been talking about in the last couple of weeks. Again, about
Yeah.
change, about the unknown, about, I sold my place in Puerto Vallarta and I really don't know, I know the, um, simple reasons, like I wanted to get my money out.
Yeah.
I wanted to be close, I want to be around my mother.
Yeah.
Um, but I still think the real reason is yet to present itself
Yeah.
to me.
Which I think that is the nugget I want to leave people, that you can have a plan, you can think into the future, you can plan as long as you want, but what really the reality is that you really can only make so many choices. Like, how am I trying to, I'm trying to say that you can't plan too far ahead. It's actually more about the short term, like the little decisions that we make daily towards something. It's not all going to happen at once. And so you don't know what's beyond this moment about the apartment, but you followed the instinct that it needed to end in some capacity. I didn't know where this was going to go with the music, but I just kept following. It almost is like follow the breadcrumbs, like follow the impulse or the instinct towards something, and it'll feel, honestly, it will feel a little crazy sometimes because you don't necessarily know where it's leading, but it'll reveal itself along the way, which I know is hard for people because they get so anxious about not knowing what's coming. But even when you try to figure it all out, usually something else happens that, like,
Yeah.
oh, you didn't see that part coming. And so what holds you from doing the thing that you want to do is fear of the unknown. And unfortunately, that's actually never going to be revealed until the moment it needs to be revealed to you.
So yes, and what I always say, and I've said it many times, I always in an episode bring up the universe, and
Yep.
the universe has our back, and the universe has a reason why it does the things that it does,
Yeah.
and why all of a sudden you're on one path, and then it's like, oh, you're going to go on this path, and so
Right.
you have to trust that, and you have to believe that, you
Hmm.
have to believe that there is a reason why this is happening, and sometimes when something bad happens, it's really hard to accept that. Well, what is the reason for this?
And you have to believe in yourself.
Right.
Like, I have many times looked at my music, and the first thing that comes into my mind is, this is too simple. This isn't hard enough. This isn't intricate enough. This isn't Beethoven. This isn't, like, why this makes it look like a child wrote this. Like, if I listened to just that voice rather than what it feels like when I listen to it or when I play it, but you get to choose which one.
Yes, and I'm glad you brought that up because, when I was teaching meditation on a regular basis, I would tell people there are different voices in our heads.
Mm-hmm.
There's your spirit voice, which is the universe, God, whatever. And then there's that other voice. There's the ego voice. There's the voice that says you're not good enough. You can't do this. Don't do that. And, that often takes control of me.
Mm-hmm.
There's that other voice that is the one, and you can tell. I mean, if people say, well, how do you know? You just know. You just
Yeah.
know which is the voice to follow because you feel it.
Yeah.
You feel it, as you said, in your heart. You feel it in
Yeah.
your gut, right?
Yep.
And you've said many times, baby steps, baby steps. And yes, for some people, baby steps. But for others, you know, me selling my place in Puerto Vallarta was a big step.
Totally.
Now, it wasn't like I was homeless. I have my place here in Toronto. But sometimes, even with a big step, you have to
Mhm.
trust it.
Yeah.
When you have that, like it was just, when my place sold, I mean, I broke down because
Yeah.
I like, no, this can't be happening. And I had two opportunities to get out of that deal. I
Mm-hmm.
didn't do it because at the end, that voice was still the strong voice, and was saying, trust
Yeah.
this, that there is a reason. So, um, yeah,
I mean, that's what it comes back to, is trust in those little baby steps that you've made along the way, and trusting that there's only a few big ones. It's a lot of small, 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 small until something larger has to happen. But that larger one makes sense based on all the small steps that came before it. So,
but it still could be a large step.
of course, there will be a
Because
large step eventually.
I know this process for you was baby steps, but I
Mhm.
want people to know too that even if you take this big step, you know, um, Look at people like, I mean, my parents who came to Canada, and many immigrants who come
Hmm.
to Canada or US or whatever have no money. They come with
Yep.
nothing, and they create a life,
Yeah.
and but
Because necessity is the mother of invention.
right.
And so you create what you need.
But I think, and what one of the most important things, you said this, and I believe this too, is trusting in yourself, and that is a tough one for a lot of people,
Yeah.
because a lot of people, have tried and have not succeeded, and they give up, and it's
Hmm.
hard for them to trust. But when you really want something, and that voice keeps telling you, you are a good example of that, and that's
Hmm.
why I wanted to talk about that in this episode. And we'll follow up once you
Yes.
start in the park.
Yes.
And,
Maybe we'll do a little episode
yeah, that'd
when
be
you come visit.
yeah. That's it.
That's it. I mean, what did we talk about? We talked about I mean, it's like what we always talk about, the journey and how small steps all of a sudden lead to something bigger usually. And sometimes there's a big choice to make, but at the end of the day, you have to trust in yourself, trust in the universe, and believe in yourself that you can do it.
Well, and to me, this episode was how do I say it? It was a real life example
Yeah.
of what we've talked about in the last couple of weeks, and about
Yeah.
change and the unknown.
Yeah.
And that's what I want to talk about. And I wanted to talk about your journey. So, excuse me. Thank you for
So
that.
last thing I'll do is plug my music. Go listen. It's on all streaming platforms, anywhere you get your music, including YouTube. I'll put links in the description, and you can enjoy it whenever you want. And if you're in New York City this summer, you might just catch me in the park practicing.
Okay.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. And we'll see you next time.
Ciao.